August 12th, 1967, just before dawn, gunfire erupts on a lonely stretch of road in McNairy County, Tennessee. Sheriff Buford Pusser is critically wounded. His wife, Pauline, is dead. Buford's story? A mob hit meant for him, but she paid the price. But what if that story is wrong?
Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Buford Pusser Institute of Criminal Justice, where we try to bring in the bad guys regardless of who they are. Welcome, everybody, and I want to thank you for being here. As you saw, we had a little bit different format this morning than we normally enter with, and I want to thank Brian for that. If you like it, I'd like for you to comment. Tell us what your thoughts are. If you want those to continue, let me know. The idea there is simply to let people know up front what the episode is going to be about. Having said that, we can move on and get to the question of the day. Was the mob involved in the alleged ambush of August 12, 1967? That was Buford's story. He claimed that he was ambushed and had all kinds of problems with his story. That's what we're here to discuss today, is what those problems were. So I'm going to turn it back over to Brian for just a minute, and he's going to get us into the next segment of the broadcast.
For decades, Hollywood and legend have blamed the state line mob for Pauline Pusser's murder. Buford himself named names: Kirksey Nix, Toehead White, and others. But here's the problem. None of them were ever charged. No one was indicted. And the deeper you look, the more cracks appear in the story. Nix has repeatedly refused to comment about Pusser's claims that he was one of his wife's killers, and no evidence has been produced that he was involved. White was never officially tied to the crime, and other suspects had alibis. So if the mob didn't do it, who did?
For most of us, our first recollection of the story was Hollywood and Walking Tall. That was what led us to believe that there was a criminal organization that was after Buford. Now, if you've watched these videos very long, you'll know that there wasn't a state line syndicate like the movie showed. That movie was about 85-90% fiction. Now, as far as the movie goes, it was very entertaining. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I put movies in genres, sci-fi, drama, crime, and it's at the top of the crime category. Buford also was the one that fed the story that got everyone believing that there was a criminal organization behind the ambush. And what proof did he offer? What did he give us? Nothing. You had people like Will Terry Abernathy, the district attorney. You had Hugh Kirkpatrick, who was chief of Selmer Police. Then, of course, there were others in law enforcement. People like Constable T.W. Burks. And then there was Buford's trusted deputy, Petey Plunk. Whatever Buford told these people, it seemed to be golden. Another thing I think about is Chief Deputy Jim Moffitt. Why wasn't he making all these statements about it being the state line mob? Did he know something? Did he have some idea that The Dixie Mafia wasn't involved. Nix might not have played a part. White was in prison. So, what was the deal there? Again, you have to think about the proof. It was Buford's narrative, but what proof did he give us? When you take a serious look at what Buford had to say, it was just a narrative, speculation on his part. There was no proof that he offered, at least as far as we know. You would think we would have actually seen some hard proof had there been any. Look at how long that investigators looked into this story, chased leads, and Buford's story led nowhere. What I'm suggesting is that our opinions, the beliefs that we hold about the Pusser legend, were all influenced by the movie Walking Tall. And it wasn't just Walking Tall, it has influenced the way that we think. How many of you go out there, look on YouTube, watch videos there, and what percentage of them are really trying to tell the real story? What percentage of those people have actually researched the story? It seems like all they do is just regurgitate what the previous video said. Now, I contend that in order for you to understand the real story, you have to forget everything you think you know. If you understand where all this came from Hollywood, from video creators, from people writing fictional books about Buford, that's what made you go down the path, if you believe in the Pusser legend, that Buford was all good. You have to rethink everything that you think you know. Look at the evidence. Analyze what Buford said happened. Look at the evidence that we do now have. You have to start from scratch. Start all over. Do your own research. Don't trust video creators. Don't trust people who write books about all of this, because most of them haven't done any real research at all. They haven't dug into the story. They haven't interviewed people who were there. And when you do that, you walk away with a better understanding of what the real story is. You have to ask yourself, where is the proof that Buford had that shows that the state line mob, the Dixie Mafia, any of these people were involved? I would like for you guys to show it to me. If you know something, if you have something, let me know. I would really like to see how that you connect Kirksey Nix to all this. It's all been speculation up to this point.
In February 2024, Pauline Pusser's body was exhumed for an autopsy, 57 years after her death. Why now? Because of new evidence uncovered by former deputy sheriff and author Mike Elam. His investigation challenged the original story, and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation saw merit in much of the evidence he had found and witnesses he had located, and reopened the case. For the first time in decades, there's a real chance Pauline's story will be heard, without the shadow of the Walking Tall legend silencing the facts.
You know, the more I hear from Brian, the more I like him. He's doing okay for a new guy. At any rate, allow me to say that, yes, I shared some information with the TBI. I've used my Facebook page and my YouTube channel as a fishing hole. I've had a lot of bites. Not long ago, I had an individual come forward saying that he thought he had the firearm that had been used in the alleged ambush, and it checked a lot of boxes. So I convinced him we need to talk to the TBI. And they have the gun in their possession now. Was it the gun that was actually used in the ambush? I don't know. I do know that Buford had more than one of these particular type guns. The important thing is it got the TBI re-engaged in the investigation. I've also discussed how that I've known for years that no autopsy was done on Pauline. I tried to get a copy of it and was told that none was done. I contacted the forensic pathologist that would have done her autopsy, Dr. Jerry Francisco, and he told me, no, one was never performed, and told me the protocols. And that was one of those things that really got me was, why was an autopsy not done on Pauline? She was a victim of a murder, allegedly by the Dixie Mafia, according to Buford. So what happened there? Now, I will say that while I've shared some information with the TBI, they share nothing with me. It's a protocol that was established in the early 1980s due to some political interference, as I understand it, that occurred, well, in and around the Blanton years, let me put it that way. And he seems to have possibly been an integral part of the Pusser story. You can go back and watch previous videos and get a lot of information on this, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is little to no evidence that the Dixie Mafia was involved, that Kirksey Nix was involved, that Toehead White was involved. And of course, by the time that Pauline was killed, Toehead White was in prison, and Louise Hathcock, the only other person that was the state line mob, well, she was dead. Buford killed her in 1966. So I don't understand how people can just instantly buy into Buford's story without looking into it. Like I say, you get into this story and you start digging, you have to forget everything that you think you know. Start from scratch. Look at the details for yourself. See what makes sense and what doesn't. Try not to listen to the talking heads that are on social media, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. I would encourage you, regardless of who it is, me or anybody else, check out the information they share. Again, all I'm suggesting is that you take a fresh look at the Pusser legend, especially Pauline's death. The alleged ambush does not make sense if you go by the way that Buford told his story. Nothing fits. Now, if you happen to have some information about the ambush and how the Dixie Mafia, State Line Mob, Toehead White, Kirksey Nix were involved, I would sure like to see it, because I haven't seen anything that convinces me thus far that any of these organizations or people were involved. While I'm here today, I wanted to give a shout out to Russell Elsie. He sent me a copy of W.R. Morris's Buford. It's one of the few books I didn't have. So I do appreciate it so much, just as much as I appreciate all the people who have sent me gifts, including hats, patches, badges, photographs, a little bit of everything. I welcome it all. I collect that stuff, and like I say, this book is one of the few items that have been written that I didn't have in my possession, so I appreciate it so much. It's about time to close out this episode, so let me just close by reminding you that if you have anything that ties the Dixie Mafia, State Line Mob, Toehead White, Kirksey Nix, anyone to the alleged ambush that took Pauline's life, please let me know. Thus far, I haven't found anything other than speculation that these groups or people were involved. And that's what this channel is all about, getting down to the bare facts of the case and trying to make judgments based upon real information, not just speculation. Also, give me your comments on today's program. Let me know what you think. If you agree, that's fine. If you don't agree, that's fine. I just ask everybody to be civil when they make their comments. So I'll close this out by saying, as I always do, truth has no agenda. And thanks for watching.